She opened the wrong car door that night. Claire Dawson stumbled through Chicago's torrential downpour, the kind of storm that made even the glowing skyscrapers look blurred and distant. Her thin black waitress uniform clung to her skin, soaked through after yet another endless double shift. At just 25, she was already exhausted beyond her years. 3 jobs barely covered her rent and overdue bills, and every day felt like it bled into the next, an endless loop of tired smiles for her customers, aching feet, and the gnawing fear of never escaping the struggle. Her shoes squelched on the flooded pavement as she searched for her rideshare. Through the haze of rain, she spotted what she thought was her salvation, a sleek black sedan idling at the curb. Its lights glowed faintly, distorted by the storm. Without hesitation, shivering and desperate, she yanked open the back door and slid inside. The man in the driver's seat was not her driver. Ethan Cole snapped his head toward her, his entire body coiled tight with lethal readiness. At 30, with dark hair plastered to his forehead and piercing blue eyes sharp as ice, he radiated danger. His hand shot instinctively toward the inside of his jacket, where a holstered weapon waited. But then he froze. Instead of the assassin he'd been expecting, there sat a drenched young woman, trembling, her hair dripping down her cheeks, her chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. Wrong car, Claire gasped, realizing too late. Her hand darted to the handle to flee back into the storm. But fate intervened. Gunfire erupted outside. Bullets slammed into the rear window, glass shattering in a burst of noise and shards. Black SUVs screeched around them, engines roaring like beasts. Claire screamed, instinctively ducking, while Ethan lunged across the seat, seizing her wrist and pulling her down. "Stay low," he barked, his voice carrying the weight of command. In one practiced motion, he twisted the ignition and slammed the gear shift forward. The sedan leapt off the curb, fishtailing onto the rain-slicked road. Gunfire sparked against metal as headlights glared in the mirrors. Claire pressed herself against the seat, her pulse hammering so violently it felt like it might rip her chest apart. She didn't know this man, didn't know why people wanted him dead, but she knew she was caught in his fight now. For 20 minutes, Ethan drove like a man possessed, weaving between traffic, skidding around corners, plunging into alleys barely wide enough for the car. His jaw was stone, his eyes cold, his hands steady. Claire clutched her apron in both fists, every bump jolting her exhausted body until she was certain she might faint. Finally, he cut the headlights and slid into the shadows of an abandoned printing factory on the south side. The silence was suffocating. Claire stumbled out after him, shaking from adrenaline and rain. Inside, she froze. Maps, photographs, and surveillance equipment filled the cavernous room. Every table and wall was plastered with files. This was no hideout. It was a war room, and at the center, illuminated beneath a single lamp, was one name scrawled across documents. Preston Ward. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her knees wobbled as her stomach turned. "You know him," Ethan said flatly, watching her face drain of color. Her voice cracked. "He destroyed my family. His scheme took everything. My father, he couldn't live with the shame. He ended his life 3 years ago." The words hung heavy. For the first time in months, Ethan felt something pierce his armor of paranoia. This stranger wasn't just collateral damage. She was someone who had suffered at Ward's hands, just as he had. Over the next few days, fragile trust grew between them. Ethan revealed pieces of his own history. A soldier betrayed when Ward's money funded a mission that left his unit dead. He had been chasing Ward ever since, gathering proof of his corruption. Claire, though untrained, carried her own strength. She had worked charity galas before, moving unseen among the rich and powerful, overhearing their secrets. She offered that knowledge now, determined to fight for the justice her father never received. Their target was clear. Ward would attend Millennium Charity Gala, surrounded by Chicago's elite. Claire would slip in disguised as catering staff. Ethan would operate from the shadows, securing hard evidence. The night before, Ethan studied her across the dim light of the factory. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "These people are dangerous." Claire lifted her chin. Her voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. "My father deserves justice. And you need someone who knows what it's like to lose everything. I'm not walking away. The gala was a dazzling display of wealth. Chandeliers glittered, diamonds sparkled, laughter echoed against marble walls. But to Claire, it was a hunting ground. She carried trays of champagne with practiced ease, her recorder hidden in her apron. Each time Ward leaned close to whisper about offshore accounts and bribes, his words were captured across the ballroom. Ethan worked methodically, photographing pages from Ward's briefcase and sliding them back before anyone noticed. For a moment, it seemed perfect, until Ward's security saw him. Chaos erupted. Armed men swept through the ballroom, sending guests screaming. Claire's heart pounded, but she didn't hesitate. She seized the evidence files and clutched them to her chest. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her to the kitchens as bullets cracked in the air. They ran down narrow service halls, footsteps echoing, shouts chasing them. Claire's lungs burned, her legs shaking, but she didn't falter. Ethan kicked open a door, shoving her onto the fire escape. Rain poured down, soaking them instantly as they doubled over, gasping for breath. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ethan held the hard drive aloft, water streaming from his hair. "We have enough to destroy him," he said, voice fierce. Claire's eyes glistened, exhaustion and adrenaline mingling. "My father would be proud." Something shifted in Ethan. For years, he had fought alone, haunted by his fallen unit. But now, beside him, stood someone who shared his scars, someone unwilling to bow to fear. "Ward has connections," he warned. "This is just a beginning." Claire met his gaze. "Then we finish it together." They vanished into the storm-drenched night. Two strangers bound by loss and united by purpose. The war ahead would be long, but for the first time, neither would face it alone. And still the rain fell relentless, as if the city itself was being washed clean, preparing for what came next.